looks up and my mom is like, Daddy's here. Like, she's like, my dad's here. And then the next thing you know, the machine's flatline, right? And so that was really the start of it, because after that, she was just, I would feel her. And like, even though I wasn't seeing her, you could not have convinced me otherwise. Like, you could not have convinced me. I know what she feels like. She's probably the easiest spirit for me to pick up on, just because our connection. And, you know, like, even when I felt her sit on my bed one day, like, so I try to explain that. People are always like, what happened? You know, like, did you see her? And I'm like, no, but it's a knowing, right? So it's like a combination of everything. You know it, you feel it. Like, my body's physically reacting to something, like static, kind of, you know, like before you touch the towel that you dried too long in the dryer, you put your hand in, so you can feel the prickles, right? And that would happen, and I didn't really know. I didn't know how to express that or share that with my family, you know. And I knew that there wasn't gonna be any judgment, like with my mom and my brother. Like, they may be like, what? But okay. You know, if you feel that way. So like, when I would have experiences where I'm conscious and awake, I would always just lie and say, hey, I had a dream, because dreams are safe, right? It's safe to be like, hey, I had a dream of Mama last night. Instead of being like, hey, I was watching TV and I felt her energy pop into the room, right? Lo and behold, I was 22 when she passed away, or I had just turned 22. She passed like 2 weeks before my birthday. Also came out that time. And then, so fast forward 20 years, but I'm 42 now. I think I'm 42. Probably like 4 or 5 years ago, things really started just, I don't know, it's escalated, right? Outside of the everyday, oh, no, don't park here. There's one in the front. Drive to the front of the parking lot in the mall, you know, and find a parking spot. Or, oh, wait, no, stop right now. Open up your door. There's a $20 bill laying on the street, you know? So outside of those daily intuitive type things, this is going to sound bad. Well, not sound bad, no judgment. But a lot of the stuff would happen when I would be out at the bar with my friends. And the first time where I was just like, okay, something is going on. Like, this is weird. It's not weird, but I was amazed, right? Like, it's amazement and elation and all these feelings. So I go to the bar after work. I had the urge sounds bad. I had the push, right? Like, something in my head was like, just swing by, like, stop by and have a drink. And I didn't, at this point, like, I was not comfortable. I didn't like going anywhere by myself, you know, like, I would always find a friend or somebody to go with me, but also I go by myself. I'm sitting there, and this guy and this girl come in, and the girl comes up to me. I don't know who she is. Like, she comes up to me and she's like, hey, do you want to play a game of pool? And at first I thought she was hitting on me, and I'm like, oh, thank you, but you know, sure, I'll play. And so like, we're playing pool, and the whole time we're playing, I just have this name, like, it's clear as day. I can hear it in my head. It's just like repeating, and I'd be, you know, I kind of shoo it away and it would come back. And so we finish, I go outside, and she follows me. And at this point I'm like, okay, it's a sign, right? Like, I'm supposed to share this with her, because what are the odds that she came up to me, right, to ask me, that a person she doesn't know, out of the other people that were there, to play pool, and then she's just followed me outside. So I was like, just do it. You don't know her. What's the worst, right? What's the worst that's going to happen? But just do it. And so I was like, hey, I don't even remember what her name was, the girl's name was. But I was like, can I ask you a question? And she was like, yeah. She was like, what? I said, who's Rose? And she said, Rose is my grandmother. And she burst into tears, like uncontrollable, to the point to where I felt bad. Like, like I was trying to comfort, and I was like, well, obviously this lets you know that you're not alone, right? You're not doing this by yourself. But she's like hysterically crying. She was not, and I know this now looking back at it, she was not in the right mindset to receive the information. And I didn't know. I thought, hey, can I ask you a question was enough permission. Now, if I approach someone, I tell them, I'm like, look, I connect to energy. Can I share what I'm getting? Like, and I typically, I'm like, and I tell them, I was like, when I say I connect to energy, I typically mean dead people. Can I tell you? And I've never had anybody say no. Well, I've maybe had like one person say no. Everybody's always been super open to it. So then it confused me, because I was like, well, was I not supposed to share it with her? Because I'm elated. Like on the inside, I am shooting fireworks. I'm like, oh yes, you're not crazy, right? Like you weren't guessing. It was clear as day. There wasn't any nitpicking or, fortune cookie answers going on. Like you were like, you got it. So it gave me validation. And then, so that gave me the courage, and it started happening more frequently. It has settled down a little bit now, but for the first 2 years, anytime I would ever go out, I would, and what's weird is I had a couple of friends that I was very honest with. Like I was sharing what was going on because they were there with me, like we would be out together and they'd be like, what's wrong with you? Because I can't stop looking at the lady, across the way, or sitting over there at that table, or the man that just walked outside. Like my attention would just be drawn to these people. Like I could not stop staring at them. And then it just kept happening, like names, birthdays, like specific. It wasn't just, oh, there's a man. He's shortest but tall, skinny fat, like it was, there was no way. There's no way that I could have, known. And it shocked me. Like every time, and my friends would be like, some of my friends started calling me Miss Cleo. Like they're joking, but they'd be like, what, Miss Cleo? And my friend Howard would be like, are you fixing to go do a seance? And I'm like, it's not a seance, Howard. I'll be right back. But every time I would go out, and I would be around people, it never failed. And I know my friends were so tired of me. Like they were so tired of me, or going out with me, because I just couldn't help it. Like I could not help it. And if you knew me, like I am not a social butterfly. I am a wallflower. Like I will sit in the corner by myself and just watch. I've never been one to like the public speaking, things like that. Like approaching people I don't know and like engaging in a conversation. Like God forbid, no, never would have happened. But I couldn't help myself. And so finally, it had just happened. It had happened so many times. And I'm not saying that I'm 100% accurate, right? But I mean, I've had people tell me no before. And you're going to hear it. Like you're going to hear no when you do this work and you're engaging with someone. You could either just be wrong, or they just don't know yet, right? Or they, like somebody, a weirdo stranger came up to me and said, hey, yeah, there's this dead person. I can tell you my grandparents' names. I can tell you my great grandmother's name. Outside of that, I don't know that, and it's sad, but I don't know the family. Like I don't know my parents' extended family. Like all I know is my cluster. So I've had that happen, and I've had people that have been like, no, you're wrong. And then 2 weeks later, they're like, oh my God, guess what? And I'm like, I told you. Like I told you. I can just feel it. Like if someone says no, when I'm right and they're saying I'm wrong, I feel it, and I just won't back down, and I'm just like hold on to it. So that started happening. And then finally I was like, I'm tired of, I don't know. I was just in a mood. So I got on Facebook one day and I was like, I talk to dead people. It is what it is, believe it or not. Because I haven't really had a lot of confrontation around it. Like growing up, I remember hearing stuff, like, oh, that's witchcraft. That's the devil, going to church and stuff like that. But like none of my peers really reacted negatively. Some of them was kind of ignore it, but nobody ever really acted negatively. So I just put it out there to everybody because I didn't want to be out somewhere, even if I'm with my family. I didn't want to be out somewhere and then me feel the push and back down because I was afraid of what they were going to think of me. Right. Oh, he's crazy. He's doing it again. So I put this whole thing on Facebook, and my mom called me the next morning. And as soon as I saw her, I was like, I knew what she was going to, I knew what the call was. And she was like, what's that post about? And I was like, what post? She's like, that one. And I was like, Mom, I was like, why are you asking me this question? Like, you already know, right? Like, this is from you, right? Like, you do this. And she was like, well, okay. Like she was, I think it kind of confused her for a minute. Even though she had experiences that I would love to go through, and then she was right on board. Number one fan. She called me yesterday, day before yesterday, and she was like, so have you met the lady that cuts my hair? And I'm like, no, Mom, like I haven't met the lady that cuts your hair. She's like, well, she's like, I know you don't want me to tell you anything, because I'm always like, don't say, like, don't feed me. She was like, she's got a friend. She's like, well, I was like, I'll talk to her. I was like, I don't want to talk to her on the phone. I was like, well, if you go with me, like, we'll just go and we'll see what happens. Right. Like, I'm not guaranteeing anything, but we'll see. So like right now she is number one fan. Like she tells everybody. And I know they look at her like, lady, you are crazy. But it's been a really nice experience for me. Kind of sharing that. And it is something that I don't take lightly, like I don't take it lightly. Like, it's, I don't know. I love it. So I do. And and a lot of people are like, you shouldn't be, pride's bad. Pride. No, that's a sin. Don't be prideful. No, like you should be proud of this type of work. If you're doing this type of work, you should be proud of yourself because you're putting yourself out there, like you're sharing what you feel. Like you absolutely should be proud of yourself. And so like anytime if I'm talking to someone and I'm sharing information, I would always be like, I nailed it. Like I nailed that. And I'd go back to my friends. I'm like, I nailed it. So yeah, like that kind of got me there. And then like they kind of started happening, and it was very similar to the way spirit would approach me. Those were all energy, right? I mean, it's all energy. It's just in a different shape. And it was kind of the same thing.
Before we get to them, I want to kind of like
okay.
have a little pause here. So
I'm going to get on a soapbox and just start rambling.
I
so
know,
I apologize.
that's okay. No, we have people who do that, who just come on and they like, you press the button, go, and it's like the story just unfolds, and which is great. But we're here to have a conversation with you. So, one of the things, I mean, that you've done, you can, I'll mute you, Sugar. So
sorry,
that's okay.
It went down the wrong way.
It's okay. So that's your guide saying, take a breath.
I know, right?
So one of the things that you've done, I mean, it's you are down south where it's not just people are like, okay, that's weird. They're like, that's Satan. Like there's a bigger reaction as opposed to just being like, oh, you're kind of different, you're eccentric. There's like there's a programming that says that this is not good while you're out there healing people's lives is what you're really doing.
Right.
And I one of the things I love is that you made it safe for your mom as well, because that post was like, you didn't come out just for yourself. You made it safe for her to come out as well in terms of her abilities and make it less, like you're the avatar for the family holding that position. So I want to let our lovely panel of beauty and wisdom here hop in with questions and reflections they have for you.
Well, and let me say this too. It was like with my mom kind of coming to terms, right, with her experiences. I've had it really surprised me. I had people that I never would have expected come up to me and they're like, thank you for just, for sharing, like, cause like, yeah, this happened to me too. Like I've had so many people come up to me and be like, oh my God, like this happened to me. Like I've done that. And I'm like, well, yeah, like it's an ability, right? Like gift sounds like it's, oh, here's one for you, but you don't get one. It's everybody, right? It's an ability. But yeah, so yeah, tons of people.
It's an ability that you had. Some people, we have things, we're more prone to certain abilities. Some people are more prone to be, athletic or to be scientific or whatever. And some people are more prone to be psychic. And we all have potential, but you have a bigger proclivity toward it. Miss Angela, what would you like to ask or think or reflect on right now?
Well, I think the first point is that the story is so similar to other stories that you hear. And it's like the guides are always speaking. And so many times that we as humans operating in our illusion of separation get into the habit of ignoring those subtle hints, those subtle inclinations, those subtle nudges to acknowledge what's ever speaking and ever present. So I think his story, your story, Jason, is so insightful in giving everybody a picture of owning that, being able to stand in that, being able to speak to that voice, listen to that voice, and allow it to guide you into the next steps and next phases of your evolution, really. So the question is, because there are so many challenges, like having grown up in the South myself, I understand that taboo nature of the way the woo-woo is seen by those who are really into the church. So my question is along the line of, like, you've made the step and the choice to stand in your truth, to take this journey. My question is, what advice or what encouragement would you give to others who are facing similar challenges, maybe the same challenges or other challenges that involve being able to stand your ground and own who you are, operate in your authenticity outside of the world's demand for who they believe you should be and how they believe you should operate?
I think that, and I hope I'm going to answer this correctly, if we're talking about in the sense of them being able to stand in their power with their abilities and the things that are happening to them on a spiritual nature, I always tell people, like, for me, had I not taken the first step and asked that girl, who's Rose, had I not gotten the validation and the confirmation that what I was feeling was accurate, I don't know that I would have kept doing it. So I always, I would say, find somebody that you feel safe with, or find a complete stranger that there's no matter what their opinion of you is, it doesn't matter because you're never going to see them again. But right, like in the sense of sharing information with someone, I don't read my family. I don't read my friends that are super close to me. Maybe every now and again something comes through, but I can't distinguish. Is this a memory that I have of a conversation? Have I seen something that they posted on Facebook? I can't tell if I'm making it up or not, right? So I would say find someone that you can practice with, right? You can share information to build yourself up. And once you have the confidence built up that, hey, you know what? Like they agreed to this, to what I said or what I felt or what I heard or what I knew. Having that in your back pocket, like having that confirmation in your back pocket does wonders. Just take those steps to build up your confidence, and it doesn't even have to be in person. We're using this wonderful tool right now called the internet, right? Like my mom just sent me my grandmother's fudge recipe. It came through my text messages. I'm like, thank you. I was asking for it. I'm like, I need that recipe. But yeah, being able to go into the situation with confidence is key. So whatever steps you can take to build your confidence. Facebook groups.
About gaining that trust. I think it's that level of trust that you're gaining. And even me sitting here listening to you speak, even as you continue to operate, you'll gain that trust to be able to operate with the people who are closer to you. You'll be able to distinguish between what's yours and what you are receiving. So you'll be able to work and be an asset and a value to the people who are closest to you. There's nothing to fear in working with the people who are close to you. You serve as a beacon for those people who are close to you. So as you learn to trust and operate in that authenticity and have that willingness to open yourself to continuing to listen, you'll gain that, and you'll just radiate out to the people around you, and then you'll start to see them transform and open and become more open to that which you have to offer. So yeah.
Awesome.
That's great feedback.
Yeah.
Miss Linda, hop in.
Yeah, I understand your hesitation, Jason, of doing it for people that you know. I even go into that when I'm with clients. Is this something the clients told me before that I'm pulling back from some recess in my brain, or is this something new? And so I am cognizant of that. And sometimes I will say, look, I don't know if this is something from the past or if this is something that is new information for you. I'm going to let you decide that. But this is something I'm feeling you need to hear at this point. And that kind of gives them the awareness that I get so frustrated. I'm like you, when we had talked, when I'd watched your pre-show, the generic, oh, your dad's behind you and he loves you. Nothing ticks me off more when I go through, and hear that repeated booth after booth after booth when I walk through some kind of a event. It's like give evidence, give something that's real, that really can show somebody. And if somebody's not doing that for you, it's probably not the right person. And but I do understand that I don't want to. I purposely don't watch or look, if somebody's, I know I don't go on their Facebook, I don't see what's happening with them. Like I try to take everything that could possibly filter into my subconscious away to actually make sure that the messages I get are clear. But I also pay attention to where they're coming from because they feel different. I don't know if that feels, if for you, if it feels different.
Yeah. And it's weird because I know a lot of people are like, if I feel it on this side, they equate it to a gender. I don't really do this. For me, it's not if it's on this side or this side. I don't know how to explain it, but like I get they're standing above, to the side, or below. Like they'll do that to show generational for me. And it's like, how does the energy stand above you? Well, it just does, right? It just does. It stands above you. And it's weird because sometimes they'll be like, I'm not just one, like I'm two, or sometimes they may go up and over. So I usually am really good with this. I've just got like a spatial awareness of where the energy is, and then like in the room physically, but then also in relation to whoever the person is that I'm chatting with. it's kind of hard. It's so difficult to put into words, because it's not, like they're not just manifesting in front of me. Like a lot of times I don't see anything. It's just, everything just works I don't know how to explain.
Yeah.
The body is an
It sounds like
antenna,
you're
right?
auditory. It sounds like
It's
you're
all of it.
auditory. You're
Yeah.
picking auditory. You're picking up feeling.
Yeah.
You have a knowing.
Yeah. I mean, I feel to me, they just all work together. Like if you were to ask me, are you clairvoyant, clairaudient? I would just say it's all that it just works together for me.
That's why I call you like an open portal. That was the sense I got of you in the pre-show, where it was like, oh, he's just open. It's like his doors are open and they're just available to step through. So it's not, and that really is it. Yes, we all have abilities, but the way that it shows up for you is a gift, and it is beautiful. And it is, unique to how you show up on the planet and bless people with your presence in the world. Mr.
Kelly Henshaw says you read vibration.
I could get down with that. Yeah. I mean, it's all vibration, right?
Right. We're all frequency and energy.
Yeah.
First, Preston, did you have a question? I see you off mute.
Yeah. Well, both, comments and a question. First of all, Jason, wow, this is so interesting. I just love this subject. I've studied mediumship, whether it's James Van Prague or John Edward or Sylvia Brown, Teresa Caputo. I just love this subject. And I really want to congratulate you for, living your truth, stepping forward. I know there's a lot of people out there who are probably dealing with this and don't have the courage to step forward, because there is some skepticism, I think, in society and some pushback on this. So huge congratulations for doing that. A teacher has to teach, a writer has to write, a dancer dances, a cook cooks. I think it's really important people follow their excitement and do what they're, meant to do. So kudos to you. And I think,
thank you.
Yeah, you should be proud of it. It's awesome. And as far as the whole woo-woo factor and, people saying, this is bad, this is evil, this is black magic, blah, blah, blah. No, that is absolutely false. And you are in great company, because if you look at religious history, all the saints did this. This is something that they did. I read Butler's Lives of the Saints, which tells thousands of stories of these very respected and powerful religious figures throughout history. All had this ability. And they were very popular for it. I don't know what happened at some point where this started to, and people look at it sideways, because it's not true. This is absolutely a wonderful thing, and a light to the world, and reconnects us to who we are and as immortal beings. So I just wanted to put that out there, that there's absolutely nothing to be afraid of. This is 100% natural. And if all of us could even open up a little more, we all, to some extent, have this ability. Like you said, it's within all of us. So that brings me to my question is, studying mediums, I see that they all kind of have their technique, and some seem to sort of stick to this one sort of pattern that they do, and others seem to evolve with it. And like Teresa Caputo talks often about how she will see certain symbols and like, oh, this is my symbol for this means, whatever. And I love her because I feel like she's gone super far with it, and sometimes has actual conversations with the spirits and is just relaying them. And I'm wondering, has your gift evolved as you've gone along? Or do you have a sort of a set method that you use, or do you allow it to sort of, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand. I can't say that I have a set way. Everyone is different. Every reading is different that I've done. I do understand like this, the kind of the images, the dictionary. I always will tell people, like, it's easier for them to pull a memory that I have stored to get me to connect to something. Like one time I connected to this lady, her uncle Ken But the way that they got me there was OJ Simpson, Nicole Brown, Cato. And I knew his name wasn't Cato, but I knew it started with a K. So I was like, it's got to be Ken. And she was like, yeah. So like they'll use my frame of references to kind of lead breadcrumbs. But then sometimes it's just straight up, I just know. Now I will say that, yeah, it has definitely gotten different. But it's always been gradual. Like I connect to animals. But it's like connecting to a person. That was kind of wild the first time that happened. I had just finished this kind of live event. My friend's mom hosted for me. It was super sweet. I'm like, thank you. Like, she believes in me. She had the space, and her and her daughter, they invited, because they had lost a sister and a daughter. So they were kind of on this journey. And she let me use her house to like have these people come over. And like 2 hours, 3 hours later, like I'm talking to these ladies, and they're ghost hunters. They're also hairdressers. And the lady was like, will you come to my house? And I was like, yeah, I'll come over there. So, I go over to her house, and after everything happened, I was sitting on the couch, and I was like, I knew that there was an energy by my feet. Like, I knew it was by my feet. I could feel it brushing up against my leg. And I was like, I kind of looked, and she looked at me and she said, what? And I said, I was like, nothing. And she was like, just say it. Like, we believe you, right? Like, just say it. I was like, there's a dog. Like, there's a dog, a spirit dog, right? Like, by my legs. And she was like, go on. And I said, the dog's name is Lucy. And she was like, yep. I said, little white dog. And she was like, yeah. She was like, that's my Lucy. And I was like, holy shit. Like, I just talked to an animal, like a dog, like, I was blown away. Like, I was amazed. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, Jason, you're Dr. Doolittle. You're going to be the Dr. Doolittle of psychics. Like, this is amazing. And that's happened. It continues to happen. Like, animal spirits, I will connect to just as easily as, one of us. And it's weird. A lot of times, if they don't tell me they're an animal, I don't know. Like, if I don't have a sense of the space of where they're at, like if they're short, big, like sometimes I'm like, oh, that's something on 4 legs. Like I'll know, but then sometimes I'm just like, it's so clear. I'm just like, that's a person. Like that, that's a person. Like Lucy, had I not felt her down by my feet, I would have thought that it was a person. So that's changed. And then obviously, I don't think that I don't think that the gift has changed. I think my acceptance of what's possible has changed. So if I only at first thought that, okay, I totally believe that we can connect to people that have crossed. Well, that's what I connected to. And then, open to the fact of animals have souls. Like you can't tell me that. If you've ever had a pet, that. So why can't I connect to that? And then it happened. And then, like with these other energies, whether it's angelic or, Christ energy, God energy, galactic energy, I was just open to it. And so it started, then that kind of started happening. It's because I don't think that the ability evolved. I'm sure it did. It's like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. So yes, but I think my acceptance of what's possible to connect to. Like I had a lady one time tell me that I had a Bigfoot as a guide. And I was like, what? That is crazy. And yeah, his name, I call him Harry. We talk, Harry in the Hendersons, right? Because that's what he reminds me of. He's that color. And we've had full-on conversations about what's the difference between a Sasquatch and a Yeti and an abominable snowman. He's like the color of their fur and where they're located. They're called different names, right? They blend into their environment. I was like, well, holy, okay, interdimensional beings, like, right? Like me being open to the different energies has allowed, I don't know, I guess it just, I feel like they're always around and they're always trying to connect with all of us. But me, I opened myself up to the possibility. So I was more aware when it was happening. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. I just want to say welcome home, Jason. Welcome home.
Yeah.
You are amongst your people, because I mean, I'm like, oh, that's a show right there. Let's talk about what your connections were with Yeti. I mean, put some of that in your artwork, eh? So I had, okay, Miss Angela, you go ahead. I have got questions brimming now, but Angela, you go ahead.
I just want to say that's indicative. That's exemplary of the fact that frequency and vibration meet you where you are at your level of consciousness. So as your level of consciousness expands, it's not that the gift necessarily changes, so to speak, but it's your consciousness. So as your consciousness widens and evolves, then you are able to connect with the moreness of this reality. It's infinite. And as you continue to grow, you continue to branch out to those things. So that's why you're able to connect at these different levels, with these different levels of consciousness. It all speaks, all of it, the entirety of the creation is always speaking. It's a matter of us getting into alignment with each level, as far as what we are able to bring through. So your story kind of speaks to that, really.
You just gave me chill bumps.
Yeah.
And like, I think that a lot of us kind of share experiences or things that kind of brought us here, and it's typically as a loss, like you said earlier. But then we come across something, whether it's a book. I know for a lot of people, like the channeling Eric stuff is huge for a lot of people, and it was something that I felt lucky to find. And I would just binge watch video after video after video, and then it came to a point to where, like, Jamie Butler, I'm like, I idolize you, like, not really, but I'm like, I want to be Jamie Butler in Alabama. But I feel like being able to see normal people, right? Like, I'm not dressed up like, Stevie Nicks twirling around some fair, but like being able to see normal people do this type of work, I don't know, it gave me peace, and it made me not feel so self-conscious about, look, there's nothing worse than coming out as gay in Alabama. Like, I already had done the hard part, right? Like, the rest of it doesn't matter. But yeah, like, it's, I just think that I just got a huge rush of energy behind me. I just think it's nice for people to see other people going through their experiences. So it gives them peace, and not only gives them peace, but it gives them confirmation of, what, maybe when I was washing the dishes and I smelled that smell, maybe that really was them, like, I know I didn't make it up. Like, I know I smelled that, or I know I heard this. I know I saw this. I think it's nice being able to find someone. And I think that's probably the biggest part for me, or what I've really come to love about, like, these types of experiences, is kind of being the voice for other people and being like, hey, it's okay. Like, it's okay if this is happening. It's normal. Like, just go with it. Like, I always tell people, like, what's the worst? Have an imaginary conversation. What's the worst that's going to happen? They give you some winning lottery numbers. Can I get those? I've been asking, and they're like, nope, not today, Jason, not today.
Linda wants to hop in.
I do.
But I just want to say, I want to see your best Stevie Nicks drag now, Jason.
It would not be pretty.
Of that,
it would not be pretty.
All right, go for it, Linda.
I do lottery tickets. I'm at about 80% to 85%. Where I just live, it's like, that one. Okay, that one. And I think the funniest one was when I was arguing because it was a $20 ticket. It's like, are you shitting me? I'm not spending $20 on that ticket in front of the woman. I'll get the ticket underneath it. After I buy the ticket, it's like, fine. Okay, give me that ticket. And that ticket was like $100 and some.
Wow.
It's like, I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen it. But I did. It brings me up with what Angela said and what you're saying for everyone. for me, I kind of walk in the state where I get those nudges all the time. Turn left. Why? Oh, there's something there that I wanted. The parking places, all of that. That's just a norm for me. And for people who want to increase that, or who already are there, but there's some block for doing one-on-one readings or stepping that next level up, what would you guys recommend? I'm going to ask both of you for allowing themselves to cross that invisible barrier. And do you prepare before you do readings for people?
I'm really horrible. I don't do the traditional meditation type, drink 8 glasses of water a day. Like, I don't. Like, I'm really horrible. That's why I'm like, if I can do this with this junked up antenna, I was like, everybody can do it. I just totally lost my train of thought, and I had something really good that I was going to say.
Well, we're going to lift up your antenna and say that you are a beautiful vessel, and that you're going to continue to clean and clear. You're going to continue to clean and clear. Imagine what you can do once you're clean and clear in a way that's right for you. There's no judgment. It's what's right for you. We love you.
Thank you. I think one of the biggest things is that people automatically assume that once you kind of get in touch with these abilities and the things that are happening, is that the next step is that you have to give readings. You don't have to be a psychic reader. I honestly, like, I've done some group stuff, which I like doing. I like having a group of people there. I don't like doing one-on-one readings where I'm getting paid for it. I'll approach a stranger all day, every day, and have a 5-minute conversation, but normally 5 or 10 minutes is all I need. Like, when it's happening, and I've had people be like, "Hey, how can I book with you?" And for me, money equals pressure to perform. And that's just not what I'm not doing it for the money, right? Like, I don't care. So I think that one thing I would say is, you don't have to, like, you can totally keep it for your personal self. Like, developing these skills doesn't mean that you don't have to have a Facebook, live every week. You don't have to have a YouTube channel where you don't have to do that type of stuff with it if you don't want to. Now, by all means, if you do, go for it. And if you're going to do it. I think a lot of people just have expectations around a lot of this. They have expectations of what a reading should be. They have an expectation of what your communication style should be. They have an expectation of what you should do for a job if you do this type of stuff. And we're basing it all off of what we've seen on TV or what we've seen portrayed in movies. So that's probably the biggest hurdle right there, is getting over these preconceived notions of what it is supposed to be like. It's different and it's individual for a reason, because even though, yes, we are all one, we are having a singular moment. So it should be catered to you. So just releasing expectations is probably the biggest tip that I would give to people, of just the expectation in general of all of this.
I wanted to ask you, Jason, go ahead, Mr. Preston. I've got questions, but I want you all to go first. So, Mr. Preston?
Yeah, well, I just love what you said, Jason, about people should trust their imagination and just play with this and go forward with it, because like you said, this is a natural human ability. I think we all have this. I am so interested in this stuff. I would love to be a psychic medium, and so I meditate and I think about it. And I remember one time I was watching the Teresa Caputo show, and I got a clear message, and it was very subtle, just this voice in my head that says, "This next reading has a message for you." I thought, oh no, I'm imagining this. What? And immediately Teresa started talking and says, "Does the date October 13th mean anything to you?" And I started crying, because that was the day my mom died. I'm like, wow, I actually picked that up.
Mm-hmm.
That is amazing. I can't tell you how many times I've ignored my intuition and regretted it and gotten a parking ticket or almost into a car accident or this sort of thing. So I'm learning bit by bit. And every now and then it comes flooding forth. I remember one lady called me because I do a lot of research in this subject, and she was talking about how her son had passed away and she was devastated. And she had looked at my research into out-of-body experiences where you can go out and meet people on the astral planes. And I started getting messages. I'm like, oh my God. And so I kind of know that feeling you get where you're compelled to talk. And I wasn't going to say anything, but I'm like, I see him, I think I see him. And I told her what I was seeing and she started crying. I'm like, wow, this is something anybody can do. So I think that's awesome. And I'm glad you put that forth. But here's my question. I mean, because you mentioned, Bigfoot and spirits and animals. I had an out-of-body experience once where I saw my pet, Clyde. I'm like, wow. And I'm petting him and it's awesome. And I came back, I'm like, that was awesome. And I went to work and darned if I didn't feel him prancing around my desk. I'm like, oh my God, I swear Clyde is here. But my question would be, since you're so wide open, you haven't talked about ETs yet. And I would love to hear about that experience, with that. And are there other beings, because there's a wide variety of interdimensional beings, whether it's fairies or leprechauns or what have you. So,
and I'll say this. First and foremost, kudos to you for acknowledging when those symbols came through, right? And knowing, like having faith in it happening. So good job. I just totally love. So I've got something there just blowing my head, my brain. I was like, I can't concentrate. Okay, so you asked about the ET stuff, and then what was the other part of the question? Like the other different types of energies, the fairy, like fairies and leprechauns, stuff like that. Also, I don't claim to be an expert, okay, by any means. Some of it, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. I can see that. And then some stuff, I'm like, no, you're making that up. But who am I to say that this person's making it up? If they're saying that they're talking to a fairy or a leprechaun or a mole woman, like, okay, who am I to say that that's not happening? So I've had fairy experience. Gay joke. I have had experience with fae, right? With fairy, mermaids, but not like Ariel mermaid. This mermaids typically are like galactic type beings, right? It's not they're typically not that pretty. They're underwater. They wouldn't have hair like they're going to be scaly. But yeah, I'm open to the possibility of the things that I'm not consciously aware of. That's probably the only way that I can answer that, as far as like those different type of cryptid type things, or the things of legends. Like some stuff, like obviously I'm a full believer in Bigfoot, but I don't believe Bigfoot as being trapped here on Earth, wandering around in our woods. I believe they travel here interdimensionally, that they shift or phase in and phase out. Unicorns, same thing. I'm a total believer in unicorns. Dragons, I've had several experience with dragon energy. And then some stuff I haven't. But I'm open to there being, I feel like a lot of these stories or a lot of these myths and legends typically are based off of something. In fact, like the story comes from somewhere. And even if it was just a story, if they didn't actually see this, who's to say that they weren't channeling that information? You can look at all these, these TV shows now with all these things that, like, and you're like, oh my God, like this movie came out 20 years ago and look, this stuff's happening now. Like, did they channel this information? Like, it's so similar to what's going on. So I'm open to that, all that possibility. Now with like the ET type stuff, it's weird. I remember growing up and I remember mom telling me about a story when she was a kid and they saw a UFO from the car when they were driving home, and she said it followed them. But like my first ever thought of aliens, I'll be honest with you, I was probably about 7 years old. And we had bunk beds. Me and my brother, we had bunk beds, and I was on the top bunk. And I had gone to sleep one way. Immediately, like as soon as I closed my eyes, immediately woke up, but I was facing the other direction, covers and everything perfect. But I was like, my 7-year-old brain was like, oh, I was probably abducted. And then like the next night, like as soon as my head hit the pillow, I blinked and it was morning. Like, and I was so confused. And I was, aliens, like just joking with myself. And now looking back at it, I'm like, oh, well, maybe, like I don't have conscious memories. But I think that a lot of us are contacted and don't have conscious memories because maybe we just can't handle it, right? Like our brain just would shut down or break. So my claim to not really a claim to fame when it comes to aliens, but it kind of is. It made me feel really good. So Jamie Butler used to did a show with this lady named Marshawn. Marshawn had lost her son Griff, very similar to like the channeling Eric scenario. So I would always, because I love Marshawn's energy. She's great. So I always watch one because the mom was like, she's hilarious, but then Jamie Butler's, she's talking, so I'm taking everything in. And Jamie would always talk about Marshawn. She would call them her sweet peas. She would, oh, the sweet peas are here. And she was talking about like aliens, like Marshawn's galactic gods. So I asked one day in one of the lives, because Marshawn was really like, if I would type something in, she'd always be like, oh, hey, handsome. And she'd always like read my response. So I was, hey, why don't you should do a show one day talking about like the sweet peas. And she was like, oh yeah. And she did one. But her and Jamie, they on YouTube. And I kind of asked, no, I didn't ask. She asked Jamie, she was like, well, what about Jason's sweet peas? And she described like 3 or 4. Some of them I was familiar with, like my tall white, I'm familiar with. She said something with the little green one. I wasn't familiar with that one, but she went out of her mouth. I was like, I was so honored. I was like, Jamie Butler. She was like, you're going to be channeling, like, you're going to be doing this. Like, you're going to be channeling these energies. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm going to be famous. Like, I'm famous. I'm going to be this alien communicator. And that came and went, and I didn't think anything of it. And then this all started happening, and like, the drawing, like one day I just felt I felt the urge. That's the only way I can describe it. I felt the push, like I could feel the energy. And I was like, they were like, just get your sketchbook. Like, just get your sketchbook. And I saw recently where somebody, who also does they do spirit art. And she likened it to automatic writing, but she's drawing, she's not writing. So I was like, well, that makes sense. Kind of how it happens, because I typically I'll explain to people, it's almost like doing an invisible police sketch for me. Like when I'm putting them on paper, I typically will have a general idea of masculine, feminine, neutral. And then they normally start with the head shape. They may be like, hey, no, it's like you, or no, make this longer, make this bigger, make this smaller. But what's weird is, it's not weird, it's really kind of cool actually. Some of the energies are very dilly-dally, and they're like, yeah, do this, that, yeah, like that. And then some of them, it's like there's no sketching at all. It's like I've got it on paper. Like I didn't have to do random sketches. I didn't do 3 or 4 thumbnails first. Like it's on the paper. And I'm like, yes, great communicator. Some of them just don't care, but they show up because their person wanted them to show up, if that makes sense. That like, I've had them, a couple be like, I'm here. I'm here for this person. And they're like, do what you want to with me. And then some of them are like, nope, I want to be facing this way. I want to be looking this. I need this in the background. It's just like communicating with other random people. Like we all have our taste, right?
Jay, I have a quick question for you in this regard. So humanity has so much fear around the prospect of external intelligence, right? How have you been able, because you are drawing these things, right? It's very tactile for you. How have you been able to move through that fear? Because you are drawing what you are channeling, so you know it to be. So how are you able to move through that fear, number one? And then how do you think that can help soften humanity's perspective in that regard?
For me, let's be honest, and I kind of shared this story with Kat the other day. I'm feeling the energy of them, right? So like, yeah, I can see what you look like, and you're scary. Like if I woke up in the middle of the night and you were standing in my room, I'd probably have a heart attack. You know, like it's scary. And so I get that kind of the fear of, but when you're blasting me with nothing but love and all I feel is joy. Like I had a friend wanted me to do a sketch of one of her gods. And she was like, his name is Manny. And that's all she was like, that's all I'm going to tell you. His name is Manny. And I was like, okay. And I was, just sketching around, doodling. I was like, this is a fucking giant bug. Like this is a 7-foot bug. Like this. And he was a praying mantis, like Manny the mantis. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, and they're not standing in front of me. Right. So it's in my head. Or I just feel out the shapes and it comes together. But I was like, that would be terrifying. Like even the small ones, like are scared. Like, you know, like I kind of would hold you, but maybe not, because I don't know if you're going to bite me. Like it's scary. But I'm a full believer. They are absolutely aware of how we will react to them. So that's why some of us, I beg all the time. I'm like, just show yourself. Beam into my room and show yourself. And they're like, Jason, you would flip, you know, like you would flip out, like you would calm down and you would be okay with it eventually. But that fight or flight instinct is going to kick in. Yes. But Manny, what he did, because again, he's aware, right, that the energy can be intimidating. He puts a bow tie on. He was like, bow ties aren't scary. And every time he comes to me, he has a bow tie. And it's just the sweet. His energy is so sweet. It is the sweetest, most loving, joyous, funny. Like he's very. I can feel his concern for my well-being, right? And he's a 7-foot tall giant bug man that looks intimidating. So you know, being able to feel and see really kind of helps. Like the emotions that you feel helps kind of settle. But yeah, it's still like, you know, it's built into it's in our nature, you know, like the fight or flight type instinct. And honestly,
if I could just jump in real quick here, just to give you confirmation of the whole bow tie thing. I hear that quite often, actually. ETs will dress up in suits, full on. I just heard it yesterday. I've got like a half dozen cases of that. So it's pretty funny to hear you say that. I'm like, wow, there it is again.
This is why it's so important for humanity to learn to operate from the space of the heart. Because in operating from that space of the heart, you lend yourself to being open to that communication, that contact, and not being so reactive in a state of fear in that regard. Yeah.
Well, you know, and it doesn't help that, I can't say that it doesn't help. Like I love that we have this media explosion, and like you can look up anything online. Like it's a wonderful tool. But there are also stereotypes that come with that when you're talking about certain galactic races, right? We always want to focus on like the top 5, like the 5 popular ones. And then like, this group is good, this group is bad. And people start believing that. Some people think all grays are bad or all reptilian types are bad. You know, I'm can probably guarantee you there's a bald blue lady somewhere that's bad, right? Like they're not all good. Like it's just like humans, right? Like in other people. So I hate that some automatically get a bad rap because of the information that's out there. Now, yeah, you may have the majority of this type may not be so, hunky dory. But we always want to focus on, I don't know, we just always want to, it just irritates me. And I mean that in the most loving way, everybody. But we always want to focus on, oh, it's a Pleiadian, it's an Andromedan. Oh, they're from this, whatever those, the five to six little popular ones that we're always in. Like open your horizons, right? Like there's so much more out there. And I don't, very, very rarely will I draw something and be like, this is their species. Unless it will, some of them tell me. And some of them are the ones that we're familiar with. Like when I did the blue avian, well, okay, it's a giant blue bird man. Like, yes, I know this is a blue avian. The three little, the blue bald people, like I know that they're Pleiadian. And like posting some of these pictures and having people comment, like even like if they're Pleiadians, well, I can tell you that there are also purple Pleiadians. There are white Pleiadians. There are Pleiadians that have the range of our skin tone. Like they're not all these. If anybody's familiar with comic books or ever seen Green Lantern, the guardians of that's what I imagine the Pleiadians to be like, little blue, all wise, old, the guardians. Just there's so much variety. That's one thing that I'm learning. And that's one, like I always tell them, if someone's asking, I'm like, or if someone's inquiring about a picture, I'm like, look, I'm not drawing the Abercrombie model. Like, yes, we probably all have one. I want those abs too, but that's not what I'm drawing. Like, I'm not drawing the Ken and Barbie. And that, those typically the blonde hair, blue eye, but there are humanoid races of all the skin tones. You have ETs that look African American. You have some that look Mayan. You have some that look, Asian. Like they run the gambit. One of my go-to things is because people will be like, oh, is there really this? Can that really exist? Well, why can't it? I can't prove it to you. Like I can't prove to you that, yes, like I felt these three energies. I can't prove that to you, but I can tell you that this is not my normal art style. And I can tell you that each picture that I've done has come out differently, which is crazy. And I associate that with like the different energies that are doing it. I think that also as a collective, the earth and the inhabitants of the earth, whether that's people or animal, plant even, I almost feel like there's an equal representation somewhere out there. So like the animals that we have here, I can't say for sure, but the majority of them I feel have an equivalent that's humanoid, star shape, right? Head, 2 arms, 2 legs, but they look like a cat or they look like a dog, or an ant, or the many insects that we have, birds, fish.
That's why it's important, because the human mind, that's the nature of the human mind, to put things in boxes and categories based on what it's come to know through history. And that's why the artwork that you do is so important, right? Because it gives a person a visual, and that allows their consciousness to wrap itself around it, to embrace it, to open it, and be aware of the potentials that might exist. Yeah.
And I understand, like we want to know the who, the when, the why. Like I would want to know what planet they're from, or what race are they. Like I would want their name. I would want to know all that too. And some of them will tell me. Like I just finished one yesterday, and I know that like I've never heard of what they said. Like they said they were Assyrian, and she said I could call her Assyria, because I remember the name came from the name of the people. But I've never heard of a species called the Syrians or the Syrians. I'm not even sure how to spell it. I think it starts with a C. you know, I just kind of go with it.
Yeah. I want to hop in because I want people to see some of your work, Jason, and to talk about it. One thing is that we have in our Third Eye Salon group on Facebook, we have posted some of Jason's pictures. And so Angela actually did some spontaneous downloading of the beings, which was such an amazing conversation. I was like, Angela, you blow my mind. So she had some just downloads of who these beings were, and Jason was like, you know, what he just said is, I don't always get names, and Angela's like, here's a name, and she's just sharing it. So I want you all to join the group and check some of that out. And I do think we want to show your artwork. That's next. But I also want to say, in addition to that, is that I think that Earth is really this giant living library of all these beings, of all these species and whatnot. And so there are representations of these beings on the planet in vegetation form, in animal form, but that this is, I feel like this is a repository for all of these galactic beings, greater expressions. So I'm going to do this fun thing where I will attempt to share live from my personal screen here. So bear with me if this gets a little wonky, but we'll get it sussed out. And then we'll have some conversation. All right, so I hit the share button. We got the picture. We hit the share button. Voila. Let me know if y'all can see that.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, awesome. So maybe I've never seen an ET bumblebee before. So this was like, you know, and I it's so good to be surprised and shocked. Would you tell us about this, Jason?
Yeah, this is actually the screensaver that I have on my computer. Like I put it as my screensaver. So I was like, am I looking at mine? Okay, so this one actually really kind of has a story, or he has a story. So I call him Bumble, right? That's my name for him. So Bumble's inspiration, I was really came because I was sitting outside like all summer. I just like to go sit outside on the front porch, and every day this bumblebee, right, would just come up to me, and like it would just fly up and it would stop and it would hover, and it would always scare me because it'd come out of the blue. And so I started talking, right, like every morning I'd be like, oh hey Bumble, because it was every day, multiple times a day. Every time I was outside, like this bee kept coming. And then I don't know, I think I had done another insect one before this. I had done the one that kind of looks like a moth, and then I had just finished it. And I knew that I had these 2 by 2 foot by 2 foot canvases, and I really wanted to put a picture on the canvas versus like one of the sheets of paper. And I don't know, I felt it. Like I felt it. And I was like, okay, this is going to be a giant bee man. But it's so weird, but I know that the connection, and it sounds so silly, the connection to that little bumblebee that I had all summer, you know, like that, it really was the starting point. I don't have a name for him, and I have no idea about the location. And now I wish I would have kept notes of all the stuff that I've sent people, so I could be like, yeah, they told me their name was this. Some people get 2 pages worth of information. Some people get a postcard. It's just, you know, it's just up to whatever whatever they're saying. But yeah, that's Bumble. That's what I call him, at least. My favorite are the little arms, the little baby arms coming out of his
tummy.
Yeah, I don't know, something about them. I'm like, they're adorable. They are adorable.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like bumblebees are guardians in a sense. Like I feel like they're like nature guardians in a way. So I'm gonna flip to another one because we're not gonna share them all because I want y'all to like connect with Jason. But let's check out this guy.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. It is absolutely one of my favorites. So he insectoid, based off of a moth. The cloak, or actually the wings, folded over, which I thought was really cool. And then like the colors around him are supposed to represent his energy. This was a male figure. And I remember that they did tell me that they cannot fly, that the wings are purely like, they're just decorative. He said that they can open the wings, but they don't, like, they're not used for flying. They do have a family structure. And I remember him telling me that he had a wife and a child. And the planet was very hot. That was one that I did for a lady.
That is cool. All right. Oh, nope. Hit the wrong button. 1 second. What happened? Sorry, give me one moment. Pardon me, everyone. Very vulnerable right now. You're seeing all my biz.
It could have been way worse. There could have been way worse stuff. There could have been way worse stuff on there.
That's so funny. All right, so let's go to, here we go. All right, so we have got, this is, okay, you say, you share, Jason.
Yeah. So this is actually one that I did for a friend of mine. She was kind of going through a rough time. This is a future incarnation of this person that's currently here.
Wow.
So, and she, like, her energy is very strong and like just sure, very self-assured, confident. And so that's why there are words of encouragement kind of written. All, you can't really be able to see it, but like all through the background, up and down, sideways, they're in black ink, white ink. But it's all words of encouragement. That was a future, that's a future, that was a future incarnation. And she is Pleiadian. Beautiful Mistress was her name.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So
that's a blue avian.
Avian.
Yeah.
And then this is a new one, right?
Yeah, that was somebody wanted a picture of their higher self. And this is what came through. Now, the crazy thing is, like, and I gave him a message. He actually did give me a name. And it was something like murmur, like a heart murmur, almost like it was something, that sound, like a murmur sound. And the guy who I did this picture for, when he got it, he commented back and he was like, hey, he was like, his name, it's whatever the name was. It's something like murmur. He looked it up and it meant someone that like spent long periods of time on the ocean or on the sea. Well, guess what he does now? He spends he's out on the ocean like for months at a time. And I was like, what are the odds? I was like, what? I was like, what are the odds? Really? And I was like, you're making that up. And he's like, Jason, he was like, I swear. He was like, I swear on the baby Jesus, I'm not making it up. But yeah, this was a representation of a higher self, and like the pattern behind him was all about like manifestation. I do remember that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll look at a couple more, but we want to get some feedback as well. So,
yeah.
But it did it again. Why you got to be this way with me? All right, let's hop on to, we'll grab this guy. Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember much about him, except I remember loving the colors, like how bright the skin was.
Okay, let's see. Okay, get the arrow. Otherwise, okay. What about this lovely lady?
Yeah, yeah. And I added the earrings very last minute. I was like, she needs some accessories. I just felt it. Yeah, but. So in this picture, the third eye is not actual. It's supposed to be a physical third eye. It's more of a representation of like psychicness. Yeah, that is, if I'm not mistaken, that was a guide for someone, and she is not in spirit. Like she's physically incarnated. Like she's currently physically existing.
Wow.
I cannot remember what his name is, but I absolutely love this picture. What was this? I can't think of what his name is. I did this for a friend. Yeah. But he's one of your standard, blue bald people. The same as like the three behind me. It's the same. They're Pleiadian.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then let's look at one more. Let's look at this guy, and then we'll come back to
so I did that for a friend that channels. And the only information that I got was old, and then they kept saying gargantuan. So I guess big, I wasn't really sure how to interpret it. But yeah, he's awesome too.
Well, And so I'm going to, well, Angela, on this one, this is one of the ones that you channeled for us spontaneously on Third Eye Salon Facebook group. This would look like for you was, or not look like, but your download was that this was an ancient one. Can you share what you feel or know about that, Angela?
Yeah, just what I wrote down. It's one of the ancient ones, at least a representation of one of the ancient ones. And yeah, there are many incarnated in skin within the earth who carry just knowing, ancient knowing that's being reactivated. Yeah, I have resonance with this particular energy specifically. And yeah, it's just really strong right now.
Yeah.
But what I wrote down was basically the summary. Can you read the summary that I wrote?
Yeah, let me do a stop screen share, and then I'll read it, because that way I'm not sharing all my business on the screen. So let me go to our Third Eye Salon, and let's see what you say here. Bear with Angela. Okay, it's just a little buried here, so just bear with me. I gotta unpack it. So there you are. There you are. Okay, this is because it's C. All right. So Angela wrote, we will say this is a being of the most ancient of beings within the cosmos. With love, we will say that this image represents is the ancient ones. Ancient ones begin to speak. With love, we are many, and we are with you now. We thank you for providing voice for us to those who have not ears to hear yet. Make this statement for all those to read. With love, are we ever present in the earth with you as well? Be still and know. Be silent and remember. What we are here to bring to your awareness is the remembrance of that which you are. That which you are is but divine source and individuation. Be willing to know within yourselves. Be willing to receive these words for yourselves. With love, have we made our presence and likeness known. Be open to our presence within your lives. Tremendous. And what's fantastic here, there's such a trifecta going on, I feel like, with Angela and Jason, and then also Preston, because, you know, Preston has books where he has images drawn of beings. And I see there'd be such a great collaboration between the two of you. And then here's Angela downloading like backstories of the images that Jason has channeled. This is the beauty of community in this living moment right now. I feel so grateful to be part of it.
Yeah, and I will say, like, what you said about that picture, it absolutely resonates with me. I remember doing the picture. Like, I have my favorites, and sometimes it's like every new one's my favorite, but like I have like 3 or 4 where I'm like, this is like, I love this picture so much. And that was one that when I got done with it, I was like, holy shit, like, did I do this? Like, it surprised me, like, when I got through with it. And it felt old, and like eternal. But it was the energy was so soft. That's the only way I can describe it. Like, you would think that something like that old and like ancient would just be overwhelming, right? But it was so gentle. It was, I don't know, it was just so soft. Yeah, absolutely had that feel. And I didn't understand really because I didn't know if it was the name or if it was a place, but it was something like gargantuan, I think is the word that they gave me. Which to me, that's big, right? Like, if something's gargantuan, it's huge.
Not necessarily big in size, but big in energy.
Yeah,
it brings.
That makes sense.
Yeah, in terms of the energy. But I've always had this thought that those of us who are able to get tapped in aren't meant to operate in silos. We're meant to, quote unquote, combine our superpowers and collaborate and bring something. There's something else to be brought forth, because there are a lot of us who operate, but not many of us who operate in collaboration with one another to see what we can do together, combined. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for us to get together, those of us who are in this, operating in this spiritual work, trying to serve as beacons and examples to be able to bring something else into the earth. There's something more to come. That's what I feel. Yeah.
I want to let people know that we've got about 12 minutes left of the show. And so there have been a lot of questions. And Jason,
well, let's rapid fire.
Well, no, that's okay. I was going to say, would you also mind, we can do some questions for sure. We'll do some questions, but would you mind answering questions in the Facebook group? Like if we had, can you all post questions here below for Jason from today's show? Would you mind going in and answering some of those?
Yeah, I can do that, but I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. They're going to be like, what's mine? Who's mine? Where are they from? What's their name? It's going to be those type questions.
So we'll freeze that then. We'll freeze that notion, because that's not what. So what we'll do instead.
I'm not opposed. I'm not opposed to answering, but I can't. Like I'm not gonna fluff everybody, right? Like I can't guarantee that everybody that asks the question, I'm gonna feel like I'm gonna answer and. With that type of question, and I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to make something up just so you don't get your feelings hurt because I answered this person's. But if you want to take your chances and see,
so we'll do this instead. So Jason's email is down below in the description. So because one of the questions was, how can I purchase some of Jason's artwork? Yeah. So Jason, you haven't made prints yet of your work, have you?
I've made prints of the blue avian and the mothy looking one, because when they came out, I just like it. So I've made a few prints, but typically like I'll take a picture and then the original is in the mail. So like I don't have a lot of like, I don't
moving forward, from now on, you have to document these in perfect lighting and be able to have these in your archive, because people, little do you know, you're on a bigger stage and people are going to want more of what you have, and the stage is going to get bigger because your service is going to get bigger. It's not about Jason, even though it is a little bit,
right?
That like your service is going to get bigger because you have it, and so people are going to want it. So contact Jason below. He'll let you know what the prices are when it comes to if you want a portrait made of yours. If he is doing that for you, he'll have that conversation with you privately. Linda has popped in a lot of questions here from the chats, which is awesome. And we're not going to get to all of them probably, but we just love so much that you've been so active and participating. Jason or Joshua Benjamin asks, can you tell the difference between psychic projection contact and genuine alien contact? Human psychics can astrally appear as anything they want. I'm not sure if I tracked that question. So yeah, I mean, I think you answered it because you said that a being has not appeared in your room. It was just a psychic projection. So
energetic. Energetic. And I did have, I will say this, I did have, I've had a dream, right? But it was so much different than a dream, to where I was on a ship and there were multiple types. And I remember there were some tall whites, like, and I'm familiar with those, but there was this lady, she was beautiful. Her skin was jet black, like a rock, like an onyx. And she had like this, she had a very sturdy, she wasn't, by no means was she fat, but she had this sturdy build. And I tried to sit down and draw it, and I couldn't. Like I failed miserably. But it was almost like her skin was made out of soft rock. Like if that makes sense, like a rock that can move. But it was so deep and black, and it was beautiful. So I woke up and I was like, okay, like I don't think I was abducted, but I think that was one of those astral projection type things. Like energetically, I was there. Physically, I'm still in the bed. And I have like I feel like things are always evolving. But I've started seeing, like with my physical eyes, light, like little light sparkles. It's like you threw glitter in the air almost.
Yeah.
Or like the waves, like pumping gas, like the waves. And the other night I couldn't sleep. It was like 3-4 o'clock in the morning. And I was just kind of laying there and I started seeing these little lights come down out of my ceiling. And I was like, okay, these are eye floaters. You know how like if you keep your eyes open for so long, you can see the eye floaters. But with floaters, they go in the same direction. Like you blink and it goes in the same direction, right? They follow the same path. So I was like, okay, these are just eye floaters. It's pitch black and these things are obviously illuminated. But I was like, it's an eye floater. Like I'm a skeptic. It's fine. Skepticism is healthy, right? So I said in my head, I said, okay, if you're not an eye floater, instead of moving to the left, go to the right. And it did exactly what I asked it to. And I was like, okay. I was like, that's new. Yeah. So I've never had that I'm aware of. I have never had the physical. I don't at least have memory of physically being taken. It's all been either energetically or like astral.
Yeah. And I think, that's a whole other conversation on like if we've all been taken at some point and we just don't remember. Yeah. But there's Dana has a great question. Is there a reason that most people have the same structure? Is there a reason for this? Meaning 2 arms, 2 legs. Can you speak to that?
I just know that it does repeat. I call it the star pattern. That's what I've always called it. I just think it's the blueprint of the universe. I think that it's one of the fundamental blueprints for life in the universe. I mean, clearly you're going to have other variants and other entities that do not follow, or they may have extra. I don't know, grand design, I guess, maybe. But yeah, it is something that
I can speak to that one too. Yeah. To build on what you just said, it's also had something to do with the filter through which the energy is coming. So it's your current level of awareness. So as you open to the different forms that exist within the universe, then you'll be able to perceive those and get them on paper. But right now you are at a place where this is what you have allowed yourself the opportunity to perceive and receive. It's that same thing with functioning on different levels of frequency. And as you build and expand, then you open to more. So different forms will eventually start to come through as your consciousness expands in that regard.
And I did a picture for a lady one time, and I knew that this person, I knew the energy, I knew it was not humanoid, I knew it did not have shape, but I was like, how do you draw a person of light? My brain could, like, I ended up drawing, and I knew it was feminine energy. Yeah. So I ended up drawing a female shape with light, but I know that that's not what the energy looked like, like it's this amorphous, but I can't, my brain couldn't
conceptualize it yet.
Yeah. I just couldn't. Yeah. But that makes a lot of sense. Angela.
Mr. Preston, Miss Linda, do you have any follow-up questions as we come to the end here?
I would just say I've very much enjoyed this conversation. It's been a real treat. I really have no questions. You've covered quite a bit of ground, and I've loved every second of it.
Nice. Thank you.
I would just encourage you to go back through, Jason, and look at all of the comments in the live stream, because there's lots of love for you there. And they have some great questions in there, and maybe we can post those specific questions if we haven't gotten to them.
Maybe we could do that, Linda.
About the person.
Yeah, we're not going to do a free reading giveaway, but we will do certainly follow-up questions. Excellent, Linda. I love it. Yeah.
So I just really appreciate this entire group coming together. Preston, Angela, you add so much to our group in 100. Conversation. Thank you. Jason, would love to have you back, because I just really enjoy your energy. And I think this was a great conversation for people who are just emerging with their abilities too, to understand that, I wish I'd had a conversation like this when I was first starting, you know, and
Right.
no, I'm not losing my mind because I hear voices, right?
Yeah. And, you know, and I will say, like, I try to make an effort. Like, if I'm out and I feel like, I mean, we all said everybody can do it, but some people may be more or on the verge of, because I always wanted and daydreamed growing up that someone was going to come up to me and they were going to tap me on the shoulder and they're going to be like, you're psychic. Like, I wanted someone else to tell me something that I already knew the answer to. Right. So I've done that like at least 3 times. I've come across 3 different people while I've been out and about, and I'm just like, oh, they got it. Like they can do what I do. And every time I go up to them and I say something, they're like, they don't deny it. Like, they're not like, yes, but
Yeah.
they're like, I know. And then it's like, and I'm like, just wait. Like, it's coming. Like, you're coming. It's coming.
Yeah. And I think for all of us, it's observing those confirmations that happen for us, even the smallest ones. And the more we observe it and acknowledge it, the more it happens. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate this conversation. Thank you, everybody who has joined us in the chat. I love you guys. You're wonderful. Make sure you check the links below. And I will turn it over to you, Kat.
Awesome. Thank you. Yep. I put us into Brady Bunch style so that we could all have a fond farewell at the same time. But I do want to remind you that so because our new friend Jason is emerging, he doesn't have a website or all that stuff yet, but he's got an email address. He's got his Facebook page. So that is down in the descriptions below. Also, as is Preston's and Angela's. So if you're interested to know more about them, please check that out there as well. Next week, our guest is Jeff Tolley, and Jeff Tolley he's an NDE, but that was just really the beginning. He then had a Kundalini experience that lasted for 3 months. Kundalini awakening that happened for 3 months, and the Kundalini energy, as it headed up each chakra, it was like, you have to get through these issues first before the energy can continue to go up its path, as well as having ET connections of his own as well. So he's just amazing. I had a pre-show chat with him just the other night, and I was like, yeah, we're connected now. He's amazing. He's going to be part of our tribe and our community because he's so good. So please hit the notification bell for down below if you've already subscribed. If you've not subscribed, go ahead and do that because we want you to be part of our community. And then we've got that request to share our content out into the world, because we don't do ads here. We don't do ads, and Facebook doesn't like that, so it doesn't share our content very much. So we rely on you, our community, to get it out there for us. And with that, we are wrapping it up. Thank you. We love you. And we are just so grateful for you and for this community. And thank you, Mr. Jason. Thank you for being
The pleasure was all mine. Yeah, pleasure was all mine. Thank you for having me.
All right. Bye, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. We got it.